In the late 90s, video game community saw the playthroughs of many of their games revolutionized by the introduction of the DEM file type. The point of the DEM file was to create a brief preview which could be played back using the actual game itself, essentially an eternal save demonstration of the product. However, gamers learned that they could use this tool to record and play back playthroughs. Because DEM files depended on you already having a copy of the game, they were very small, meaning that they could be passed around much easier than larger video files, and so players would often share saved versions of their runs to other users. This also means that today these can be captured in extreme high quality, while most other video game captures at the time look pretty bad by comparison. For a time, this was almost exclusively used to capture the gameplay itself. However, this all changed when users discovered that they could splice together clips of them playing the games to create unique narratives. The first widely spread of these being Diary of a Camper, which used text to add additional context and comedy to the footage shown. This birthed one of the first art forms that was pretty much exclusive to the internet, Machinima, a combination of machine and cinema, which was later misspelled and the misspelling stuck. It was extremely useful for the day and age, considering that it allowed users to create animations without all of the training that comes with real animation. Although it mostly resulted in scenes that had to focus on dialogue over expecting the footage to actually make sense on its own.
Think about your family! Think about what they mean to you! Blah, blah, blah! Blah, blah, blah! Blah, blah! What the hell are you saying?
Soon, a community of players, modders, and wannabe filmmakers came together to create software that could make the hobby easier. Users found ways to move cameras, introduce whole new character models, and do so much more. Pretty quickly, users in the machinima genre became something like real filmmakers, working with actors, having to direct and contort their stars. There are stories of camera angles having to be perfectly and smoothly moved with nothing more than a mouse as the game clip played out, all just to get that perfect shot. Within a few years, the animations that were put together through this process looked pretty damn close to animations made in a real 3D program, bearing no resemblance to the games which these engines were nabbed from. It might have been a replacement for 3D animation, but that didn't make it any less viable or any less fascinating. The most well-known of these movies were created from the first-person shooter games Quake and Quake 2. The first of these to really blow up was the comedy Operation Bayshield. The film surrounds a group of anti-American terrorists trying to infiltrate and harm America by taking out its greatest leader, David Hasselhoff. Basically, the joke is that the terrorists don't like Baywatch, so they're gonna off the Hoff. So the good guys have to run in and save the day. What I like about this film, and many of the others that I saw, is that it creates a linear story while still capturing the feeling of a bunch of friends hanging out and just riffing while they're having a good time. In 1999, the third game in the Quake series was announced, but released alongside it was a notice that anyone who attempted to crack the game's coding or release information on it would face legal repercussions. While this was done to stop cheaters in the online multiplayer mode, it essentially put a prohibition on fan productions. The waning popularity of the already niche genre didn't help, and the disappearance of this art form seemed increasingly imminent. This was until the launch of Machinima.com in January 2000. The site's creators, hoping to overcome the regulations surrounding Quake 3 Arena, elected to physically record frames from the game and to release their final products as video files, which allowed users who didn't own the game to play it back. Many protested that this soiled the art form by hindering the quality, but it also seriously broadened the audience and appeal of these videos, which were soon being sold with magazines and on CD and gained mainstream recognition. For years, Machinima.com would allow users to post their own films, and alongside these, it would also publish articles and other informative edutainment features surrounding video games. The site, as it existed at this point, obviously shared a large resemblance to Newgrounds.com, although I would argue that they were two completely different sides of the same coin. Newgrounds made films that were interactive like a video game, and Machinima made non-interactive films out of video games. Essentially, two completely different ideas that probably shared a big demographic. What interests me about this trend is that you would almost expect the video game companies to fully revolt against this, but in many cases it seems to be quite the opposite. Developers love to see their fans get creative. They enjoyed seeing them make something so cool while essentially advertising their product. And so many decided to actively encourage these being made. 2002 saw the first Machinima Film Fest being hosted at QuakeCon, sponsored by a well-known graphics company. Many of these would follow in years to come. 2003 would see the launch of Red vs. Blue, without doubt one of the most popular shows to be posted on the site. And this would, in turn, eventually lead to Rooster Teeth becoming a fully fledged animation group. Red vs. Blue was created by logging into a Halo 2 multiplayer map with multiple controllers and manipulating each character individually. The camera was actually one of the characters in the match, just in first-person view, explaining why there's usually some sort of weird marker in the middle of the screen. The creator, Bernie Burns... My god, is that his real name? The creator, Bernie Burns, used a glitch in the game to make the characters look more relaxed, creating the comedic juxtaposition of the main characters just standing around and talking to each other in a very non-combative situation.
You ever wonder why we're here? It's one of life's great mysteries, isn't it? Why are we here? I mean, are we the product of some cosmic coincidence, or is there really a God watching everything, with a plan for us and stuff? I don't know, man, but it keeps me up at night. What?
Red vs. Blue is one of the most popular shows created for the early internet. Although, I have to admit, I had never seen it before I started working on this video. But I have to say, it is so good. Half the time when I say something is good on this show, it's like when a child draws a picture of their family. It's not good. I'm just trying to be nice to someone who did their best. But Red vs. Blue is great. It's also still running, so I feel like it would be cheating to linger on it too much for this video. Machinima.com also, interestingly enough, became the host to many a Star Trek fan, as the series Borg War was also a hit and even reached screening at an official CBS convention in 2003. I don't know anything about Star Trek, so we're just gonna skip that one. Things were quickly changing on the website, something indicated in 2006 as its original creator stepped down to focus more heavily on artistic pursuits. In 2010, the board left in charge put into play massive changes, removing the forums, the ability to post personalized content, and essentially changing the focus of Machinima.com away from the machinima genre and towards just general geekiness. Gone was a cute collage of new videos and projects, and in its place set a blank page of text, fully solidifying the transition.
Machinima.com is the next generation video entertainment network for video gamers, providing comprehensive game-focused editorial and community programming to the hard-to-reach core 18 to 34-year-old male demographic. Across our global network, over 37 million unique gamers view in excess of 289 million videos every month, making us the #1 all-time entertainment channel on YouTube.
Wow, this video just became 100% less interesting to research. In the years leading up to this, the Machinima website had been hunting for a way to duplicate the success of Red vs. Blue, and a new recruit by the name of Luke Steepleton ended up posing the idea of expanding their reach past the genre of animation which they were named after, to bring on video essay channels and let's players and anything else basically, expanding their reach in ways that other sites we've looked at on this show had totally failed to. And so, in December 2010, Machinima stopped trying to be a standalone website dedicated to hosting original content, and instead became a hub dedicated to pointing users to its numerous other nests on other parts of the internet, specifically its place on the video website YouTube. And you could hardly argue that this idea didn't pay off. In almost no time, their channel had over 5 million subscribers and was the 4th most subscribed to channel on the site. And it did this without really having to develop any real identity outside of gamers, I guess. The first time I ever remember encountering Machinima in the wild was when I was in middle school and I ended up going on a bender of watching a bunch of Minecraft parodies. And the thing is, I didn't even play Minecraft, but I really liked watching the skits. I remember I watched this one show that was 2D animated. It was a 2D animated Minecraft skit show, and I thought, this is brilliant, I want to see this whenever it comes out. So I subscribed to the main Machinima channel, and immediately I was just flooded with all these videos that had nothing to do with what I had subscribed for. And it got so bad that I had to unfollow the channel, and I think I lost track of that series even though I liked it enough to subscribe, because I just couldn't stand that constant stream of videos. The Machinima YouTube channel at its peak would upload 16 to 20 videos a day, all with completely different topics and extremely varying view counts. You'd find something you'd like Half in the Bag or The Tommy Wise Show, and you'd subscribe for that, and then you'd just be hit with this tidal wave of unboxing videos and hot takes and let's plays and game trailers and convention footage and just a huge sea of things that you did not ask for. The Machinima channel was essentially someone throwing everything at a wall and knowing that something would stick because they were being very excessive. Also, I guess it's what BuzzFeed does. And this is also probably the main issue that led to the decline of the main Machinima YouTube channel. You see, modern YouTube rewards content creators who post consistent and similar content. That's why whenever I do a bunch of similarly themed videos in a row, I grow at a crazy rate, but when I do more experimental videos, they barely get recommended because that's just not what Google wants me to be doing. And the Machinima channel, having no brand and no consistency whatsoever, probably made it hard for the algorithm to suggest it to people, because let's be fair, pretty much no one who subscribed to the Machinima channel clicked on every video they posted. But that's the weird thing about this company. It had morphed into this weird Cerberus creature where it was about 4 different things at once. Although Cerberus has 3 heads, so I guess it's less like him and more like the dog from the Yellow Submarine. So you've got Machinima the Dead website, Machinima the Dead YouTube channel, and next, Machinima the Dead YouTube network.
YouTube networks are pretty self-explanatory at this time, aren't they? Networks act as a middleman between content creators and YouTube itself. They'll take some percentage of the creator's profits, and the idea is that they'll then use that to do something to make the exchange worthwhile. Of course, nowadays you don't really need a network, and most of them are probably secretly scam artists who just don't want to do anything but want your money. They're really notorious for seeking out small channels who make very little and giving them very bad deals, hooking them up to a cash IV that gets very little from each person but eventually drains a whole lot from a lot of people, until whoever owns the network can swim around in money like Scrooge McDuck. But at the time, signing up through monetization through Machinima actually proved to be easier than doing it through Google. On early YouTube, getting approved for monetization could take months, and the policies on what would and would not be approved were entirely arbitrary. However, YouTube allowed approved creators to link sub-channels of their own to be approved through the larger channel. Machinima was one of the first to figure out that they could thus act as a middleman between smaller channels needing approval and YouTube itself, taking a small piece of the action in exchange for a much easier process. This also allowed them to monetize people who had been rejected through Google, which led to many colorful characters making their money through the network. Machinima gained a reputation as one of the largest networks, signing up more than 50,000 channels at their peak, and by some accounts with 8 people working customer service. They also soon gained a reputation for one of the most scammy out there. In particular, they would sign YouTubers up to their network only to sneak perpetuality clauses into their contracts.
Specifically, this very infamous clause stated that Machinima would own the rights to whatever content was created by this person, and I quote, "in perpetuality, throughout the universe, in all forms of media now known or hereafter devised." Is throughout the universe really broad enough, guys? I mean, I feel like you're not covering your bases here. I mean, if this guy makes a YouTube video on the planet Mars, then you've got this situation covered. But what if he travels to Earth too? What then? What if he goes into a black hole and starts vlogging with Omega? How are you going to steal his money then? And the second part of that, in all forms of media now known or hereafter devised. Y'all really getting ready for YouTube to start streaming 7D sex holograms. I mean, is there anything else to say about this? It's so trashy and malicious that it's transparent in a way. I don't think there's anything good that can be said about this. Although, to be fair, it might just be that I have absolutely no compassion for YouTube networks whatsoever. Machinima's final and most important head was its creative one. The part of it that continued to make original content long after all of the other heads were dedicated to just stealing money from other people.
Over the years, Machinima gained enough of a reputation to produce numerous animated shows for mainstream franchises. Its first series, a prequel to Terminator Salvation, very much mimics its expected video game style. You can buy it on Amazon for just over $1, a small price to pay for Salvation. But eventually the company branched off into animation, both 2D and ordinary non-video game 3D. One of the things I happen to know the most well is Transformers Combiner Wars, one of the biggest licensed creations they ended up putting out. It's alright. I like how the Combiners, who are several Transformers that form one big Transformer, have this weird batch of identity issues. They're written as if they're both individual people and one big person at the same time. I also liked Starscream in the first few episodes, mainly because I grew up on Armada and I really like the storyline of Starscream turning out to be a good guy. But then he turns out to be a bad guy, so never mind. It was adapted from a toy line of the same name, and I think it wasn't the most interesting toy line Hasbro has ever done. Or maybe Siege has just spoiled me. Because Siege is so good. Soon, my love. I've been meaning to talk about Machinima for a while because it's just this weird, mutated case. But things really got heated earlier this year. In January, without any warning, every video ever uploaded onto a Machinima channel was either privated or deleted. Years of content and online history, some good and some less than that, was gone in an instant. It would soon materialize that Fullscreen, Machinima's former head competitor, had bought the company out and was stripping it down for parts. By February, all of the site's 81 employees were let go. Its operations entirely ceased. It's been said that Machinima will continue to operate in some form under Fullscreen, and that they hope for a smooth transition. But I've seen evidence of neither of those things since then. It really does seem like Machinima, in any of the numerous ways that it existed in the past, is entirely gone for good. And I don't know how to feel about this. Machinima has this weird legacy. It started off as this breath of creativity on the internet, opening up the art of storytelling to just about anyone who understood the tools, and making a lot of cool stuff along the way. But all of that seemed to just fade away so quickly, and it became something else. Machinima is dead. And I can't bring myself to care. Sorry. But there is one thing I do care about, and that's Audible, today's sponsor. You guys have probably seen a lot of YouTube videos, and you've heard the drill with Audible. You know that every month as a member, you get a free credit that you can use on any audiobook, no matter how expensive or how long, and that they have an endless catalog of works that you can save and play anywhere. Computer, smartphone, depressed robot, you name it. But here's what you might not know. Starting very recently, Audible's benefits have expanded. Every month, you are now able to get not one, not two, but 3 free audiobooks through this service. That's 1 regular audiobook and 2 select Audible originals. 2 Audible originals that you get for free that you can't get anywhere else. It really isn't an exaggeration to say that there is no better time to sign up to Audible than right now. This month, I've been listening to Red Dwarf, Infinity Welcome's Careful Drivers. The book is an improved adaptation of the classic 90s series and is written by its co-creators. And it's read by Chris Berry, the actor who originally played Rimmer in the original show. He's also a renowned impersonator and famously does perfect imitations of the entire cast of Red Dwarf, meaning listening to the books is almost like watching a new and improved version of the episodes. Hell, even if you haven't seen the show, I might even suggest starting here if it's a possibility for you. Alongside this, I also picked up the Audible original adaptation of the original draft for Alien 3, which has been very famous for years as a great piece of unproduced media. It's also something which I feel is going to go very well with my other choice for the month. And hey, if none of those things tickle your fancy, you can never go wrong with The Conquest of Bread, the greatest book of all time. And you can all get on board with this by going to audible.com/Quinton or texting Quinton to 500-500. Doing so will get you a free audiobook, 2 free Audible originals, and a free 30-day trial. That's a lot of free stuff. Once again, that's audible.com/Quinton or Quinton to 500-500. A big thanks to Phalos for cameoing in this one, and to all of my Patreon supporters for continuing to support me. I'm gonna linger on that one so I can show more of them on screen. With that, I've been Quinton Reviews, and that's all you need.